The sound of laughter stopped her cold. That laugh, low, rich, unmistakable, echoed through the glass corridor like a ghost she thought she'd buried years ago. Emma froze, the stack of confidential files trembling slightly in her hands. Through the tinted wall of the executive conference room she saw him. Adrian Cole. The man who once ruined her career. And her heart. He stood at the head of the table, the same self-assured smirk curving his lips, his hand brushing lightly against the woman seated beside him, Sabrina, the company's head of marketing. Emma recognized the gesture instantly. She'd seen it before. Years ago, when his fingers used to trace patterns on her own wrist during late-night strategy meetings that turned into something else entirely. Her throat tightened. For a moment the world blurred around her. The low hum of conversation, the sterile scent of polished steel and coffee, the steady tick of the clock above the glass door. All she could hear was her pulse, drumming like a warning beneath her skin. She took a breath, forcing herself to move. One step, then another. She was no longer the woman he fired. No longer the naive assistant who believed every lie he whispered in dimly lit boardrooms. She was his secretary now. His trusted assistant. His shadow. And secretly his boss. 3 years earlier, Adrian Cole had destroyed her. Emma had been his executive assistant at Cole Dynamics, sharp, efficient, fiercely loyal. She'd worked 16-hour days to clean up his messes, draft his proposals, even defend him when rumors of misconduct began circulating. Then came the morning she walked into his office and found a memo she wasn't supposed to see. Subject: Termination Emma Blake. Reason: breach of confidentiality. Her breath had caught in her chest that day. She remembered staring at the screen, rereading her name, certain it had to be a mistake. But when she confronted him, his expression was unreadable, cold, corporate, final. "It's nothing personal, Emma," he'd said, adjusting his tie. "But loyalty isn't a currency that holds much value when trust is compromised." He hadn't even looked up when she left. 2 weeks later she discovered why. The same night she lost her job, photos surfaced online of Adrian and Sabrina. Smiling, holding hands, their names linked in every business gossip column. The betrayal wasn't just professional. It was personal. She had been replaced, in his bed in his office. Emma vanished after that. She sold everything she owned, moved across the city, and started over under a new name. Emma Blake became Emily Ward. But she didn't disappear into nothingness. She built something new. A silent partnership in a tech startup that grew faster than anyone expected. Then another. Then 2 mergers later, a holding company emerged, Ward Enterprises, a powerful shell corporation that eventually bought out Cole Dynamics in secret. Now Adrian worked for her. He just didn't know it yet. Emily. The sound of her alias broke through her thoughts. Adrian's voice. She turned, every muscle in her body trained not to flinch. He was standing in front of her now, all tailored confidence and charisma. "You must be the new assistant I've been hearing about." His tone was smooth, flirtatious, exactly as she remembered. "Emily Ward, right?" "Yes," she said evenly, forcing her voice to stay calm. "Mr. Cole." He smiled. "Call me Adrian. Everyone does. Everyone. Except her." She let her lips curve into a faint smile, the kind that didn't reach her eyes. "Of course. Adrian." He studied her face, something flickering behind his gaze. Recognition? Curiosity? It didn't matter. The years and a carefully altered hairstyle, a sharper wardrobe and a colder composure, had erased the girl he once knew. "I'll be honest," he said, stepping closer. "I was skeptical about hiring another assistant after my last one quit." "Really? Why did she quit?" she asked softly. He chuckled. "Couldn't handle the pressure, I suppose. Some people just aren't built for this kind of intensity." The irony almost made her laugh. Pressure was what he'd used to justify betrayal. But she only nodded. "I can handle pressure. I like that." His eyes lingered on her longer than appropriate, before he stepped back, satisfied. "Welcome to the team, Emily. I think we'll work well together." She smiled again, rehearsed and perfect. "Oh, Adrian," she murmured as he walked away. "You have no idea how well." By week 2, she had already memorized his schedule, passwords, and moods. She knew the way he loosened his tie at precisely 6:15 p.m., how he left his phone unlocked on the desk when he thought no one was watching, and how Sabrina still called him after midnight under the alias Project Orion. Emma never acted immediately. Revenge wasn't chaos, it was choreography. Every step had to feel natural, inevitable. She became indispensable. She learned to laugh at his jokes again, to hand him coffee before he asked, to glance away when he flirted. She played the part so perfectly that even she sometimes felt the old ache stirring inside, the echo of the woman who once believed in him. Until one night it happened again. A forgotten phone. A flashing message. Sabrina? I'm in your office. Hurry before she comes back, winky face. Her stomach twisted, the air leaving her lungs in one hard, silent gasp. For a second her mind refused to believe what her eyes read. Then slowly she picked up the phone, unlocked it, and opened the chat. Dozens of messages scrolled upward. Plans, photos, confessions, all the proof she needed that Adrian's deceit wasn't buried in the past. He hadn't changed. He was still lying, still manipulating, still mixing business and pleasure at the expense of anyone who trusted him. Only this time the woman he was cheating with wasn't a rival assistant. It was a married investor, one of the board members' wives. Emma's chest tightened, a tremor rippling through her hands. But she didn't cry. Not this time. Instead, she walked to the window of his office, staring down at the city lights. The glass reflected her face. A calm, composed stranger. Somewhere deep inside, the storm she'd been holding back for years finally began to rise. She placed the phone back exactly where she found it. Then she smiled faintly to herself. The next day, she would begin the second phase of her plan. Phase 1 had been infiltration. Phase 2 would be exposure. By the time Adrian arrived at the office the following morning, she had already rewritten his schedule. His private meetings were now booked back-to-back with board members, journalists, and external auditors. Every hidden thread he thought he'd tucked away, every falsified report, every misused fund, every personal indiscretion, was quietly being traced and documented under her supervision. And when she greeted him that morning, she did so with the same calm tone as always. "Good morning, Adrian." He smiled, distracted, kissing the air beside her cheek. "Morning, Emily. Big day today, client pitch at 10, right?" "Right." She handed him a folder. Inside it everything looked normal. But buried beneath the printed proposal was a single page, an unsigned letter of resignation. His resignation. By the time he realized what it was, it would be too late. That evening, as the office emptied, Adrian called her into his office. "You've been quiet today," he said, leaning back in his chair. "Something wrong?" She shook her head. "Just focused." "You're good at that," he said softly. His gaze was different now, less professional, more personal. "Focused. Loyal. Reminds me of someone I used to know." She tilted her head. "Someone important?" He exhaled. "Yeah. I wasn't good to her. I thought she was holding me back, but I was wrong." Emma's pulse quickened. For a moment she saw a flicker of sincerity in his eyes. Real regret, maybe. Or maybe he just learned to fake that too. "What happened to her?" she asked quietly. "She left," he said. "And she's better off, I guess. I haven't thought about her in years." A lie. He had thought about her. She saw it in the way he said it, too quickly, too smoothly. "Maybe she hasn't thought about you either," Emma said, her voice barely a whisper. He laughed, unaware of the weight behind her words. "Maybe." She turned to leave, pausing by the door. "Adrian," she said, looking back. "Yeah. Be careful who you underestimate." He frowned slightly, puzzled. But before he could ask, she was gone. Behind her, the skyline glowed gold against the darkening sky. A city waiting for the storm. Tomorrow the first domino would fall. The next morning began in silence. The kind of silence that comes before a storm. Heavy, waiting, electric. Emma sat at her desk outside Adrian's office, her fingers resting on the keyboard but not typing. Her reflection glimmered faintly on the black monitor screen. Composed, steady, unreadable. The kind of face that could lie beautifully. She'd stayed up all night fine-tuning every detail. The email leaks. The board meeting. The investor call. Even the timing of Sabrina's arrival. Every variable calibrated down to the minute. By noon, Adrian would watch his empire crumble. By dusk, he'd learn who had built the trap he was standing in. At 8:47 a.m., Adrian walked in, humming under his breath, looking like the world belonged to him. "Morning, Emily," he said, his smile effortless. "Morning," she replied. "You've got a board meeting at 10. I've already sent the pre-brief." "Perfect." He glanced at her briefly. "You're a lifesaver, you know that?" Her lips curved faintly. "I try my best." He disappeared into his office, and for a few moments the world went still again. Then her phone buzzed once. A single text message. From Sabrina. "He doesn't know I'm coming in early. Keep him distracted until 10. Emma's pulse steadied. Perfect. By 9:55, the top floor of Coal Dynamics was humming with quiet tension. The board members had gathered in the glass-walled conference room, their assistants waiting outside like soldiers before a verdict. Adrian straightened his tie, his reflection gleaming in the window. "Let's make it a good one, Emily," he said. "Oh, it will be," she replied. He walked into the meeting. The door shut behind him. For a brief, breathless moment, Emma just stood there, staring at the door, feeling the weight of everything she planned pressing down on her. Years of humiliation, heartbreak, betrayal. All of it led here. Then she turned on her computer, typed a code into an encrypted folder, and pressed enter. The company's internal communication system lit up with a scheduled broadcast, one that would go live in precisely 15 minutes. She minimized the window, stood, and poured herself a coffee. Outside, rain began to fall against the windows, soft and rhythmic, as if the city itself was holding its breath. Inside the conference room, Adrian's voice filled the air. Confident, persuasive. The same tone that used to make Emma believe anything. He was midway through his presentation when the large display screen behind him flickered. Once, twice. Then the slides vanished. "What the hell?" he started. The room went dark for a second, and then a video began to play. A grainy phone recording. Adrian's voice unmistakable. "You don't have to worry, baby. The board won't find out about the fund transfers. Emily handled it. She'll take the fall if anyone asks." A stunned silence fell across the room. The recording continued. Fragments of conversations, confidential documents, text messages, even photos. Adrian's voice again and again, laughing, manipulating, seducing. "Shut it off," he barked, slamming his hand on the table. But the system didn't respond. Emma had locked it remotely. When the screen finally went black, the damage was done. Every lie, every secret, every betrayal laid bare. The chairman, Mr. Langford, turned slowly toward him, face pale with shock. "Adrian," he said in a low, furious voice, "we'll discuss this privately. Now." Adrian tried to compose himself, tugging at his tie, his voice shaking. "There's been a mistake. Someone's framing me." The door opened, and there she was. Sabrina, dressed in a sleek white coat, makeup perfect, smile brittle. "Framing you," she said softly. "Don't insult my intelligence, Adrian." The room froze. Adrian's eyes widened. "Sabrina, you told me you loved me," she hissed, walking toward him. "You said you were leaving your wife. You said we'd build this company together." Gasps rippled through the board. Adrian's wife, one of the company's major shareholders, wasn't even in the room yet. Sabrina's voice cracked. "You used me. And you used everyone else." Emma watched from outside through the glass wall, her pulse calm and steady. When Sabrina turned to storm out, her eyes met Emma's for a fraction of a second. There was confusion there, faint recognition maybe, but no words. Just two women crossing paths on opposite sides of vengeance. The door slammed. Inside, chaos erupted. Adrian's voice rose, desperate, pleading. "Listen to me. This is all a setup. Someone's doing this to destroy me." Mr. Langford cut him off sharply. "You're finished, Adrian. Effective immediately, you're suspended pending investigation. Security will escort you out." He froze. "You can't do this to me." But they could. And they did. Within 10 minutes, the man who once commanded the building was being led out past his stunned employees, face pale, eyes burning with disbelief. Emma didn't move as he passed her desk. She just watched quietly, her gaze steady. He stopped. For a moment he stared at her. You, he whispered. You knew. Her voice was calm. I knew everything. He frowned, confusion flickering across his features, and then something darker. Recognition. Emma, he breathed. Emma Blake. Her lips curved into a soft smile. Welcome back, Adrian, she said. To my company. Hours later, the building was empty. The storm outside had thickened, thunder rolling in the distance. Emma stood alone in Adrian's former office, now hers, staring out over the glittering city. The world looked different from this height. Cleaner. Quieter. She'd expected to feel triumph, satisfaction. But all she felt was exhaustion. Revenge was supposed to feel sharp, righteous. But instead it felt like glass dust, glittering and hollow. She sat down in his chair, her fingers brushing the surface of the desk. Beneath the drawer, a flash drive glinted faintly. She pulled it out, plugged it in and opened a folder marked simply B. Her initials. Videos, photos, scanned letters. Moments she'd thought he'd deleted. Memories of them together. His voice younger, softer. You're the only one I trust, Emma. Her throat tightened. She clicked the window shut. He had betrayed her, yes. But he had also remembered her. Carried her ghost in the margins of his empire. She closed the laptop, staring at her reflection in the dark screen again. The woman staring back didn't look victorious. She looked haunted. Behind her the door opened. Ma'am. It was the head of security. Mr. Cole's been escorted out. Would you like us to blacklist his credentials permanently? Emma hesitated. Then quietly. No. Let him keep access for one more night. The man frowned. Are you sure? Yes. When he left, she leaned back in the chair, exhaling slowly. Somewhere deep down a memory surfaced, his laugh, his warmth, the way he once whispered her name like it meant something. Maybe this was the last thing she owed him. One final illusion of dignity before he realized how deep her revenge truly ran. At midnight her phone buzzed. Adrian, you win. Meet me. One last time. She stared at the message for a long time. Then she typed back. Penthouse. 15 minutes. The city was drenched in rain when he arrived. His clothes were soaked, his eyes hollow. You ruined me, he said softly. Congratulations. Emma didn't answer. She just poured him a drink. You ruined yourself, she said. He took the glass, his hand trembling. Why, Emma? After everything we had. You destroyed me, she interrupted. You took my career, my reputation, my trust. You made me question my worth. This, she gestured around the room, is balance. He laughed bitterly. And does balance feel good? She hesitated. No, she admitted. For a long moment neither spoke. The rain pattered against the window, soft and relentless. He looked at her, really looked, and there was something raw in his eyes now. I loved you, he whispered. I swear I did. I just loved power more. She felt her heart twist. For a fleeting second she almost believed him. Almost. She stepped closer, her voice low. Goodbye, Adrian. He smiled faintly. You always were better than me. When he left, she closed the door and stood there in silence. Her body trembled not from fear or guilt, but from the release of something long imprisoned. Outside, the thunder faded. The city lights shimmered like distant stars. And for the first time in years, Emma allowed herself to breathe. The next morning, she received a single envelope on her desk. No name, no return address. Inside was a photograph, her standing by the window last night, taken from outside the building. On the back, one handwritten line. You taught me well. Her blood ran cold. She looked out the window instinctively, but the street below was empty. The reflection staring back at her was calm, but her pulse thundered beneath it. Somewhere in the city, Adrian Cole was still out there. Watching. Waiting. The game wasn't over. It never really was.